All right, I'm here with Robyn Taylor, one of our excellent tutors here in the Writing Center, and she's going to talk about using commas with restrictive and non-restrictive clauses. A tricky one, Robyn. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, so this is a comma rule that you should be aware of. Restrictive and non-restrictive clauses are phrases or words that come between the subject and the verb of a sentence. So here's some examples. We've got restricted clauses. In this case, you don't use commas. These are phrases or words that really affect the meaning of the sentence. So like, the students who did not wear uniforms were punished. The clause would be who did not wear uniforms. The subject is the students and the verb is were. So if we take that out and we just say the students were punished, then that implies that all of the students were punished and not just the ones who didn't wear uniforms. So that does affect the meaning of the sentence, and so we don't separate it with commas. But a non-restrictive clause is just in there to give detail or clarity or something like that, and it doesn't affect what actually happens in the sentence, so we separate that with commas. So Jane, red nose from the blizzard, came inside. If we take this red nose from the blizzard out, it still says that Jane came inside. The same thing happens, so we separate that with commas. So let's take a look at some examples, maybe tricky situations you'll find. Here's the first one. The famous playwright William Shakespeare had a father who made gloves. There are lots of famous playwrights, so this William Shakespeare is really important to the meaning of the sentence because we need to indicate which playwright we're talking about. So we don't separate that with commas because it's really important. But if we say, William Shakespeare, a famous playwright, had a father who made gloves, William Shakespeare is the subject, had is the verb, and so we already said which playwright we're talking about. There's only one William Shakespeare. So this famous playwright is just in there for clarity, and so we should separate that with commas. Another example that's kind of the same thing, if we say fast runner John Howell refused an interview. Well, there are lots of fast runners in the world. Maybe you're a fast runner. So we need to be specific and say which fast runner we're talking about. So we don't separate this with commas. This is restrictive. But if we say, the winner of the race, John Howell, refused an interview, there's only one winner of the race. So John Howell is just giving extra details, just giving his name. So we can separate that with commas. And the third one, this is probably the most tricky because it's the same wording, and it just depends on the meaning of your sentence. If we say, the lady who wears yellow shoes is my mother, and you mean, let's say you're looking at like a picture, so there are two ladies and you're identifying your mother because of her yellow shoes, then that would be restrictive, the who wears yellow shoes part, and so you don't use commas. But if there's only one lady in the picture and you're signifying which one is your mother because she's the lady, and the yellow shoes part is just extra detail that you're adding something your mother does, then you can separate it with commas because that's not needed to identify her anymore. So I hope that made sense, and maybe next time you write, you can be more aware of restrictive and non-restrictive modifiers.
Great. Thanks a lot, Robyn.